Hello, I'm Marty, and I'm a member of the Montgomery County, Maryland Beekeepers Association. It's my pleasure to present to you a series of videos that I have recorded over a 3-day period during which I've been harvesting my 2020 honey. And I was very thrilled that I was able to have a harvest this year. I wasn't sure in the beginning because I didn't know if my bees would survive and if I'd have enough honey to be able to harvest it and get them through the upcoming winter. But we had a good result, and I got, by my estimate, about 60 pounds, which is pretty good. Not terrific, but it's pretty good for 2 colonies. I'd like to invite you to watch any of the videos I've created. They are from about 2 minutes to 15 minutes long each, and they kind of hopefully take us through the whole process from beginning to end, starting with a basic review of the equipment, and then in the next video I go out into my bee yard and just talk a little bit about the setup and what the different components are of the colonies and how the harvesting process works. Then in videos 4 and 5 I go over 2 different methods for separating the bees from the boxes that I'm going to be harvesting. And in beekeeping, of course, one thing that's important and somewhat tricky to do is to get the bees out of the area that you're going to be working on. The first method I tried, which really wasn't all that successful this time, is called fume boarding. And essentially it involves putting a new kind of a lid on top of the box that you want to vacate, and you spray some sort of a non-detrimental substance onto the lid, but it's something that they really don't like, and it essentially causes them to escape from it down into the hive. It didn't work for reasons I'll explain in video 4 or 5, but then yeah, it was video 4. But in video 4, I resorted to what I was going to be doing anyway, which is using a leaf blower to remove them, which sounds really kind of cruel, but in fact is really effective, and as far as I can tell, does not really injure them or even aggravate them significantly. I've used this over the years from time to time, and I've never been disappointed. It's great for me because I can get it done quickly and kind of with a minimal chance of getting stung. But I also do feel it's one of the least invasive for the bees. So that's a terrific solution that I go over in video number 4. Then I move back inside and I take a look with you at the supers, which are the boxes that the honey is stored in by the bees. And I'm trying to take a preliminary assessment of, based on their weight and their outer appearance, how much honey there's going to be and what condition it will be in. And then in the next 2 videos, 6 and 7, I actually take the boxes apart and take the individual frames out and inspect them. And of course, once you do that, you get a much better idea of what you have. We're looking for nicely capped honey that is clearly filled up based on the weight and the appearance, and has some other qualities that will lend itself to really high quality honey. And I was pretty fortunate, actually, given that I only had 3 boxes this year. In video 8, I talk about the wax capping removal process, which is kind of technical. Essentially, what you need to do is remove the capping that the bees have put onto the honey. They put it on there to protect the honey, to preserve it, and to keep it from getting bacteria, because the wax sort of seals it in. And you, as the beekeeper, have to remove that so that you can get it ready for the next step, which is shown in video 9, which is the actual extraction, using a centrifugal crank-operated drum that kind of spins the frames, and the centrifugal force throws the honey out. Quite an ingenious device, which I'm borrowing courtesy of the Montgomery County Beekeepers Club. It's a really wonderful benefit of membership. And then I move on to filtering in videos 10 through 12, just to show how that goes. And we in our club use a 3-filter system. going from 600 microns down to 200 microns. Just as an interesting side note, commercial honey is often filtered down to 5 microns. And the importance of that is that most pollen cannot make it through that tiny opening, but a fair bit of it can make it through the 200 micron threshold. So it is at least thought that local beekeepers' honey has more pollen in it and could arguably be helpful for people with allergies, although I don't believe there's scientific proof of that. But this is one of the big differences between our own backyard beekeeping and the commercial process, which is really designed for volume and speed. And then in 13, I'm kind of wrapping it up by talking about the cleanup of the equipment, and there's some kind of clever and fun things that I've learned over the years on how to have the bees help me clean all of this equipment. And in 14, I'm going back out into the bee yard to rearrange some of the boxes. When I bring the supers, the ones with the honey in to extract, before I come in, I also put on some other empty boxes just to give the bees an equal amount of space to be in for the 2 or 3 days that I'm working on their other boxes. But those boxes, for various reasons, are better and ones I want to return to the hive. So I actually have to go out and repeat a lot of the same process with the leaf blower and blowing bees out of the substitute boxes and getting the original ones back on. So it's kind of a hot, sweaty job in the summer, 95-degree heat with my beekeeping suit and long pants on. But it's definitely something I need to do to close out the activity. And then 15 is just talking a bit about bottling process and some of the maybe surprising rules about judging honey at agricultural fairs. And 16, which I hope to get to, I haven't recorded yet, is the final product. I hope to have roughly 120 8-ounce bottles. And it's really, even after doing this for 7 or 8 years, it's always kind of amazing to me to see the entire collection on a table and take a photo of it. So I hope to be able to do that and show you the finished product. The whole thing took me about 3 days of work. The first day was very intense. The second day I was able to have a social life, and today hasn't been too bad. But I love doing this. It's a terrific joy. And in addition to getting honey, which of course is wonderful, you also learn a lot about these amazing insects that are so critical to our food supply and the vitality of the food that we eat all the time. And then just their biology and their social structures is unbelievable. Along those lines, I want to just share 2 books that you could read if you would be interested in learning more. There are, of course, an endless number of books and resources, but these are just 2 that I like a lot. The first one, for specifically kind of specific advice on beekeeping, is not surprisingly called The Beekeeper's Handbook. And this is written by 2 prominent beekeepers, and I think they're entomology professors. It's very pragmatic. It takes you through the seasons, what to do each season, and do's and don'ts, and kind of lessons learned from mistakes made. There are people who've been, working with bees for decades and decades, and no matter who you are and how far along you are, there's always somebody who knows more, and chances are there's somebody who's newer and knows less. So it's a lifelong journey. This is one great book. It's the one that we use as a course book in the Montgomery County Beekeepers short course for new beekeepers, which I can highly recommend. An amazing course for a really reasonable price with wonderful instructors. And this is a terrific book. I still refer to it 7 or 8 years into my career as a beekeeper. On the other end of the spectrum is a book I really love, which really will tell you nothing whatsoever about beekeeping. But it addresses the second subject I alluded to, and it's called Honey Bee Democracy, and it's written by another entomology professor named Tom Seeley, who's very well regarded. And his whole book is about the social structures in the bee colony, how they work together, and most interestingly, how they make decisions for the benefit of the whole colony, including where to forage for the best nectar, and when and how to leave and find a new home, and also where to go to find a new home. There are just some totally incredible scientific facts here about how honeybees make those decisions. They operate by consensus, but there's sort of a process that I actually think is similar to the political primary process. When they're looking for a new home to move in a nutshell, there are several scout bees that go out and look at candidate places. And then they all come back and they do this special thing called a waggle dance inside the hive. And based on the level of excitement and the direction that they're moving, the scout bees, they essentially draw a kind of support from onlookers, from other bees that are witnessing this. And but then other scouts come back and may have an even more exciting report from what they've found. Anyway, it's just an amazing story, and of course, without any language or any really any way that we would understand communication to function, they can make decisions as a community that really rarely miss. There are almost always excellent choices for them. And so this book goes into that. A Nobel Prize was won by the individual who discovered this and figured out how they communicate with each other. And Mr. Seeley is describing this whole incredible process. Again, it won't tell you anything about beekeeping, but it will tell you a lot about the amazing world of honeybees and also a lot of insects in general. So I can highly recommend this one too. Lastly, in addition to beekeeping, I'm kind of a big fan of t-shirts, and so I'm wearing a few different shirts that I particularly love, that I hope will maybe put a smile on someone's face. And just a shout out to my good friend Bonnie and her sister Daphne, who have actually gifted me many of the shirts you're going to see, and pointed me in the direction to the wonderful world of t-shirts. And so I now actually actively look for ones that are fun. And it's been a true pleasure to be able to wear them and kind of share them during this video series. So I hope you enjoy that. And watch however many you like, all of them or just one or two. And if you find that you're interested in beekeeping, even just to learn about it, you are most welcome to come to a meeting of the Montgomery County beekeepers. Before COVID, we would meet in person. Our meeting is, I believe it's the second Wednesday of every month in the evening. Now we're doing it on Zoom like everyone else. But you can Google Montgomery County, Maryland beekeepers. Be sure to put Maryland in there because there's a lot of Montgomery counties all over the nation. But we're in Montgomery County, Maryland, and if you just type that in Google, it'll bring up our website. You can learn more. Wherever you are, there's probably a club, and if you happen to be local, we'd love to see you. Thank you so much, and I hope you have some fun and learn some new things. Bye-bye.